Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. So this video is going to be my book review for Stephen King's newest release, Later. Later was published under Hard Case Crime, and Stephen King also did two other books with that publishing company too, The Colorado Kid and Joyland. The first thing I like to do when I get a brand new Stephen King book is to see how long it is. And as you can see, it's super short. I think it's just about 250 pages. And I actually prefer Stephen King's shorter works, his short novels and even his novellas, which I really love, as opposed to some of his longer works. And even though it says new novel from Stephen King, it's short enough that it reads like one of his novellas. But anyway, getting to how I felt about the book, I really enjoyed this book. I actually just finished it like a couple minutes ago, and I wanted to quickly film this review. I'm gonna let it sit with me for a few days, but my initial reaction is to give it 5 stars. I like to only give books 5 stars when I wouldn't change anything about the book. And for Stephen King to write, such a short book and to have it be very well paced like it is, there's not really anything I would change about it. Now, if it were longer and more drawn out, that's when I tend to give Stephen King, like 4.5 stars as opposed to 5 stars. Like I think I will give this book. And like with most Stephen King books, the characters in this book are fantastic, including the main character Jamie, which is actually written from his first-person point of view, which you don't necessarily get too often from King. The main premise of this book is this little boy named Jamie who has the ability to see dead people. Now, where have we heard that story before? It's clearly, from The Sixth Sense. And even the character of Jamie mentions, like, oh, I know what you're thinking. It's like The Sixth Sense. It's not quite the same. And as you get further into the story, it's completely different. And from the words on the cover of the book, only the dead have no secrets, that's kind of the premise of the book, is that when Jamie can speak to these dead people, they can't tell lies. And I won't spoil what happens in the book, but the situations he's in where people try to use him to communicate with the dead, that's where I think it kind of diverges from The Sixth Sense, and it turns into its own thing. I also really love the character of Jamie's mom in the book, their relationship, their mother-son relationship. Even though, you find out as you read that she has her own flaws, but she's also very protective of her son, and she very much loves him. And the character of Liz, who is sort of a seemingly dirty cop who is also Jamie's mom's lover, you kind of are supposed to not like her. And I liked her as a character, but obviously I wasn't rooting for her, and you're not supposed to. She's sort of the character that wants to use Jamie's ability the most, and the way that she does use him and for the reasons she wants to use him are very intriguing. It's hard to really talk too much about this book without getting deep into spoilers, so I can't really go too in-depth here. One thing that I will mention is that throughout the book, Jamie keeps mentioning that this is a horror story. Like, he's kind of telling the reader his story as if he's reflecting back on his life. And he keeps mentioning, like, oh, this is a horror story. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. There's definitely some horrifying, horrific moments in it, but I still wouldn't really classify it as a horror book. But you're going to get King's quintessential supernatural elements in the story, as well as great character development, which is exactly why us constant readers keep coming back again and again and again. As far as where I would rank this among some of his other works, it's still so fresh in my mind that I really don't know where I would put it, but I think I'm going to give it 5 stars, so it's definitely upper echelon King, especially for his newer works. I don't think it would quite make my top 10, but it could make my top 30, maybe even my top 20. And like I said, this reads much more like a novella, and I'm a huge fan of Stephen King's novellas. I actually think King is at his best when he's writing novellas, as opposed to his longer works such as like Itch or The Stand. And even I think he's a better novella writer than a short story writer. Even though he has tons of great short stories, he has tons of terrible ones, at least in my opinion. I think that'll be an interesting topic for next Stephen King Friday. His longer works versus his shorter works. But as far as this book goes, Later by Stephen King, if you're a Stephen King fan, I would assume that you would want to read this. I would say that it's a must-read for any constant reader. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great place to start with him, but yeah, overall, I very much enjoyed this book. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. 5 stars. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you've read the book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you meh about it? Either way, I want to know. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. And now the tricky part, finding out where I'm going to put his new book on my Stephen King bookshelf. Maybe I'll put it up here. I don't know if I like that. I'll probably fix it later though. Get it? Later.